Well, he's a cutie pie. I might put him in Potomac. Okay, yes. Yeah, he can come right on to Potomac.
Skye Squad, Skye Squad, Skye Squad. We are back in the building, and yes, we got a lot to cover today, okay? We got a lot to cover. We're going to be talking about Erika Jayne and this divorce. We got some tea on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. We got to talk about these taglines. Kandi is exposing a plot from the past, okay? Kenya and called. The inference is that she calling, Porsha a garden tool, okay? That's what it felt like to me. I'm gonna put the link down in the description below so you guys can get all that good stuff as well. But before we get there, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell button and subscribe and join the texting community so I can send you a text message as soon as the video drops. Now, I just want y'all to know it's cold up in DC. It is cold outside and I felt like it was some drops of snow. But anyway, I'm just sitting here minding my own business, as I always do. And I came across a news report the other day, I think it was yesterday, basically that Erika Jayne's husband, okay, he wants her to pay his attorney fees and asked the court to deny her request for spousal support, okay? Now, initially, she asked the judge to block him from requesting spousal support from her, but then he made a move to stop her from gaining support amid their split. And he also requested that she pay his attorney's fees. He said, you gonna pay me for all this good life I done gave you for all these years? You gonna pay me because you said it was expensive to be you? Well, you gonna find out how expensive it is to be you. You gonna have to pay for yourself. Now, I don't know what she gonna do about all this when she comes back to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because without these glam squads and things like that, those things cost money. You know what I'm saying? And so I, for one, am gonna be quite interested to see, how these ladies are gonna talk about it. Is Lisa Rinna gonna make her come to the carpet and talk about everything the way she typically does in the past with everybody else, having them own it? Is she gonna be doing that? That's what I wanna know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that they're gonna really touch on all this on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, or do you think they're gonna try to protect her and cover all this stuff up? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Next, we got to talk about these doggone taglines, okay? Now I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all the truth. As I was watching the Real Housewives of Atlanta's episode on Sunday, and I'm watching the Real Housewives of Potomac right there afterwards, and then leading up to the premiere of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I didn't even realize that we had not gotten taglines. I didn't even realize that we didn't get no taglines at the beginning of the show. I mean, I felt like the beginning of the show was so impactful that I almost forgot about it. And actually, I did forget about it. But finally, we have some taglines. They have been revealed, and these are the taglines. And I want you guys to chime in on the chatterization and let me know who you guys think had the best tagline, who you guys think whose tagline needs work, all that good stuff like that. Now, we're going to give you guys the rub right here. Now, starting things off is obviously household name Kenya Moore, okay? And she says, if you don't like my shade, then step out of my shadow, okay? If you don't like my shade, then step out of my shadow. Now, I don't mind this one. I thought this was kind of clever, okay? And it's expected from somebody like Kenya Moore, something with shade, shadow. It makes sense, okay? It makes sense. All right. Next we have Kandi. It says, a little candy always helps sweeten the tea, okay? A little candy always helps sweeten the tea. Now, this was clever, and I thought it was out of the box, and I liked the way they used her name, Kandi, in the phrase. I felt like this was, okay, it was a nice little play on words here. I thought that was nice and clever, okay? Then we get Miss Drew Sidora, okay? Our newbie on the block. She says, I was in the game, but now I'm calling all the plays. Now, I kind of would have preferred this better if she said, I was in the game, but now I'm calling all the shots. For whatever reason, I felt like that just rolls off the tongue a little easier. But what do you guys think? She says, once again, I was in the game, but now I'm calling all the plays, okay? Then we have Miss Cynthia Bailey. It says, I've been through the peaks and the valleys, and now I'm head over heels Okay. This makes sense. This makes sense for Cynthia Bailey at this point. I've been through the peaks and valleys, and now I'm head over heels. Makes so much sense to me. Nice little play on words there. And then finally, we have Miss Porsha Williams, who says, I may be social distancing, but I'm here for social justice, okay? Now, I felt like this was definitely true to what we have seen from Porsha via social media. I feel like this is true to probably what we're gonna see a lot of on the show as well. So for me, I'm like, okay, this really makes sense, and it's kind of a little bit of a callback to, you know, her saying social distancing to Eva when talking about her top, okay? So we got that right there. Now speaking of tatas, okay? Kenya Moore did an interview. Oh, let me know what you think of the taglines. But Kenya Moore did an interview with Access. The link will be in the description. It's a very good interview, okay? But in the interview, she's asked some questions about whether or not she'll ever be friends with Nene again, to which the answer is obviously no. She talks about the fact that, you know, they were supposed to both donate $20,000 to charity, and she feels like, you know, Nene showed her character because she donated her $20,000 and Nene didn't donate her $20,000 and never donated hers. So that was still a thing for her. She goes on to talk about Strippergate on the show, and she basically indicates that, you know, she doesn't have a problem with Porsha or whomever having any type of fun with the stripper, but what she does have a problem with is lying about it afterwards. So she's indicating here that Porsha in some setting may have lied about what actually happened during the Strippergate, okay? Now her idea of this was, hey, you know, people can do what they do, you know, and she said she wasn't shaming her, but she was saying that, you know, if called to the carpet about it, don't lie about it, and then don't drag your friend down with you in that situation. Now, in that situation, I'm assuming she was talking about Tanya, but, you know, obviously she didn't say the name. So who really knows? But that's what we can infer from it. Now, I was here for her explanation. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. I was here for her explanation about why she felt so incensed by this whole situation. If it was a situation where, as she's claiming, someone lied about it, and that someone likely being Porsha, as we are assuming, okay? Now, here's where things get a little dicey in this interview. And it's right at the end of the interview, so I would suggest if you're interested in only this part, fast forward to the end, but support these people. Watch the whole thing. But she says, if you're gonna be a garden tool, just be a garden tool. Everybody likes a garden tool, and by garden tool, I mean a hoe, okay? A hoe, not to be confused with a rake, but a hoe. You know, a hoe is a garden tool. Catch my drift? She says, if you're gonna be that, just be that. Now see, here is where I have an issue, okay? I personally, as a man, feel like you should never call a woman that type of word. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna even say it because I just feel like I'm trying to evolve as a person, and that's just not a word that I'm trying to use to describe any woman, okay? And I certainly, if I feel like as a man, you shouldn't be calling a woman that, then as a woman, you shouldn't be calling another woman that either, okay? I just feel like you can't say I'm not shaming someone, but then in the next breath, call them a garden tool. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like that's kind of contradictory if you ask me, okay? So what do you guys think about this whole situation? Do you agree with Kenya's assessment of now, of course, she didn't say a name. She didn't say a name, but we all know who she was talking about in this situation, okay? We all know who she was talking about. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Now I want to talk about KANDI Burruss. Okay, KANDI is if you watched her on her Speak On It from this past week's episode, very revealing stuff. Revealing stuff. But one thing that I found interesting that was, you know, mentioned in that Speak On It, specifically because our good friends over at the Peach Report Daily pointed this little part of it out. And it's one of those types of things, if you're watching it, you could have missed this moment, but I'm here to call it out, okay? Now, in that moment, KANDI exposes this notion that at one point in time, the reason why fans actually know about who Block is, because I guess in earlier seasons, they had worked hard. She had worked hard to not really speak about who he was. If you knew her, you knew who he was. But, you know, in terms of referencing him as a person and naming him on the show, she had, you know, refused to do so to a certain degree, okay? But she said that it was Carlos King, former producer for Real Housewives of Atlanta. I think he produces quality real reality television. He just does really just fine, top-notch quality television. However, Kandi has some issues with him because apparently she says that it was Carlos King's style of production at that point in time to bring people on from your past that you may have had issues with and then surprise you on camera, and that's why, you know, the person ends up looking crazy on camera because they have been surprised by production. And she specifically names Carlos King in that situation. Now, I believe this was season 9, maybe, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong when this whole situation went down. Also the same situation that it was rumored that Phaedra had, you know, told Porsha about Kandi allegedly wanting to take her to the dungeon. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot going on this season with Kandi, okay? It was a lot going on. Hey, listen, she earned that paycheck that season. Let me tell you that. Anyway, so she goes on to say that, you know, she didn't know whether or not, you know, Block had been promised, you know, airtime for his artist or what the situation may have been in exchange for coming onto the screen to hash out those issues. However, now as a result of that happening, she feels okay to openly have dialogue about it because it's now been talked about, it's out there in the open, and when it comes up in her real life, that she don't have no reason to hide or protect him at this point any longer. So I was like, ooh, now that was a little bit of interesting, juicy, behind the scenes, you know, workings. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the sort of like interesting thing about reality TV is that you just never really know, you know, who's gonna pop up on the screen, who's gonna show up. And I will say as a viewer, it makes things interesting. You know what I'm saying? It makes things like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? You know what I'm saying? And that's probably why Loving Marriage Huntsville does so well, because he knows how to put things together in such a way that it makes for great reality television, whether it's of the dramatic variety or not. The man does a great job. But in terms of what Kandi feels, I feel like it would be a little difficult to trust that process because I think as someone on the show, you may not ever really know what's lurking around the next corner. You know what I'm saying? But some people could also argue that that's what you sign up for when you sign up for reality TV. And that's kind of true, and then that's kind of not true. Because I think for some people, they really do go on the show with this notion that they're going to show their real lives and this is what's happening. And that's, in some cases, what we prefer as an audience, with a little bit of spice mixed in there to make things, you know, extra exciting. So there's a fine line that I feel like people have to walk with reality television, and I am not the judge, jury to say what works best. What I will say though is that season was mighty compelling. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Now make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, and I'm gonna hit you in the next video.